In part 1, endocrine pancreas up to insulin completed. Now come to the glucagon. Glucagon is second hormone that is secreted from endocrine pancreas, that is from alpha cell of islet of Langerhans. It is a polypeptide hormone, contain 29 amino acid and molecular weight is about 35,000. It is a potent hyperglycemic agent produced by alpha cell in pancreas. Its major target is the liver, where it promotes glycosenolysis, that is the breakdown of glycogen to glucose, gluconeogenesis, that is synthesis of glucose from lactic acid and non-carbohydrate, and release of glucose to the blood from the liver cell. This is how the glucagon first DNA in alpha cell. After transcription, mRNA forms, and these mRNA forms proglucagon, and this proglucagon converted into proglucagon, and final glucagon is secreted. The factors which influencing the glucagon secretions are: first, blood glucose. The blood glucose is the major regulator of glucagon secretion. Hypoglycemia stimulates glucagon secretion, while hyperglycemia has the opposite effect. Second, protein intake, especially intake of amino acid like arginine and alanine, stimulate glucagon secretion. Third one is sympathetic nervous system stimulation. And some other factors that stimulate glucagon secretion are exercise and various stressful conditions. Inhibitors of glucagon secretion, mainly somatostatin, and second is increased blood glucose. Now come to the physiological action. What are the actions of glucagon? The effect of glucagon are mediated through the cyclic AMP. First, the glucagon stimulates glycosenolysis in liver and inhibit glycogenesis. It also stimulates gluconeogenesis, and the glycolysis is inhibited. Glucagon promotes beta oxidation of free fatty acid and stimulates ketosis. It inhibits acetyl coenzyme carboxylase, which is essential for synthesis of free fatty acid. It also facilitates lipolysis by stimulating lipase in adipose tissue. So it is pro-diabetogenic and ketogenic. Now come to the insulin glucagon ratio. It is thought that the action of glucagon are almost exactly opposite to those of insulin. Some scientists are of the view that glucagon is the principal hormone regulating carbohydrate metabolism and insulin just acts as an antagonist. So the ratio is important between insulin and glucagon. First, the insulin is hormone of energy storage and glucagon is the hormone of energy release. A balance should be maintained for normal metabolic functions. So, after a normal balanced diet, it is 3. After overnight fasting, decrease to 1, may decrease as low as 0.5 after prolonged fasting. Its physiological significance is during neonatal period, a low Ig ratio is critical for survival. So this chart shows how the balance between glucagon and insulin correlates. In first figure is shown that in fed state insulin dominates. So when there is dominance of insulin increases glucose oxidation, glycogen synthesis, fat synthesis and protein synthesis. And when there is fasted state, the glucagon dominates, means the glucagon dominates, and this glucagon dominance causes increased glycogenolysis, increased gluconeogenesis and increased ketogenesis. So the balance between glucagon and insulin is important. Now come to the normal plasma glucose levels. The normal fasting blood glucose is 70 to 100 mg/cent. Postprandial blood glucose level is 100 to 140 mg/cent normal, and random blood sugar is 80 to 120 mg/cent. So in healthy person, blood glucose level is kept within a normal narrow range in spite of various factors trying to upset these state of equilibrium. So the glucose homeostasis maintained by different hormones which either elevate or depress the blood sugar level, and the different organs like the liver, skeletal muscle, gastrointestinal tracts and kidney etc. So there is glucose homeostasis, means the blood glucose level should kept within a normal range in spite of various factors which may disturb the state of equilibrium. So when there is increase in this flow chart shows when there is increase in glucose, there is decrease in glucagon secretion and increase in insulin, and this insulin causes cellular uptake and utilization of glucose and the other action of insulin, and this lead to decrease in glucose. When there is decreased blood glucose level, the glucagon increases and insulin decrease, and this glucagon increases leads to decreased cellular uptake of glucose, increased glycogenolysis and increased gluconeogenesis, and this lead to increase in blood glucose level, and the normal homeostasis of glucose is maintained. So Both the above regulates the blood glucose level by stimulating or depressing the processes like glycogenolysis, glycogenesis, neoglycogenesis, peripheral blood utilization, etc. So, the balance between glucose, glucagon and insulin maintains the glucose homeostasis in the body. Now come to the third hormone, that is somatostatin. Secretes from these cells of pancreas, also secreted in hypothalamus and GIT. It is a peptide hormone with two forms, one with 14 amino acid and other with 28 amino acid. The main function is it inhibits the secretion of insulin and glucagon. Second, inhibit the GI motility and GI secretions. And third, regulates feedback control of gastric emptying. Fourth hormone is pancreatic polypeptides. These polypeptides secreted from F cells of pancreas, and it is of 36 amino acids, structurally similar to neuropeptide Y, that is secreted from hypothalamus, secrete in response to food intake, and it inhibits the exocrine pancreatic secretions and slow the absorption of food from the GIT tract. Now come to the applied physiology. In this, these are the different diseases which are related to endocrinal pancreatic deficiency. First, insulin deficiency. This leads to diabetes mellitus. Insulin excess occurs due to insulinoma. Glucagon excess occurs due to glucagonoma, and somatostatin excess leads to somatostatinoma and carcinoma of pancreas. It is a cancerous condition. Now come to diabetes mellitus. We all know about the diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus is a serious disorder of carbohydrate metabolism, and this is the most common endocrine disorders, and it is the common and serious pathological condition as a result of failure of insulin to exert its action, that is from hyposecretion or hypoactivity of insulin. Means when there is failure of insulin secretion or deficient or hypo, or there is decrease in sensitivity of the insulin to the receptors. So diabetes mellitus means diabetes, it is contains two words, diabetes and mellitus. Here the diabetes means a condition with large urine output, and second word mellitus. Mellitus signifies the honey like sweet taste, and this is caused by presence of glucose. So similar related disease which occurs due to deficiency of ADH is diabetes insipidus, but in diabetes insipidus there is polyuria due to deficiency of ADH, and insipidus. Insipidus means tasteless. So these two terms are different in this basis. diabetes mellitus and diabetes insipidus. So there is 3 cardinal signs of diabetes mellitus. These 3 cardinal signs are polyuria, polydipsia and polyphagia. Polyuria means huge urine output, polydipsia means excessive thirst, and polyphagia means excessive eating. Other signs are also present, that are weight loss in spite of increased appetite, hyperglycemia, that is rise in blood sugar, glycosuria, that is presence of glucose in urine, ketosis, acidosis, and in severe cases coma, may lead to coma. So it is of 2 types. Diabetes mellitus is of 2 types, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is also known as insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, and type 2 non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. So type 1 is characterized by failure of beta cell to secrete insulin in required amount, and this type of diabetes may be autoimmune origin with genetic and environmental factors also contributing to disease. And second one is type 2, that is non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. In this type of diabetes mellitus occurs as a result of failure of peripheral target tissue to utilize glucose due to insulin resistance. In this type 2 diabetes mellitus, plasma insulin is normal or it may be high. And the other type of diabetes mellitus is MODY, pancreatic disease, drug induced, like corticosteroid and thiazides, diuretics and phenytoin. So these are the major difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus. Age of onset: in type 1 it is before the age of 40, that is juvenile onset, and in type 2 after the age of 40, that is known as maturity onset diabetes. Body fat mass: in type 1 it occurs in not obese patients, and type 2 generally patients are obese. Incidence: 10% of total diabetes is of type 1 and 90% of total diabetes is of type 2. Genetic predisposition: rate is high, more than 50% in type 1, and rate is low, less than 50%. Incidence of ketoacidosis high in type 1, low in type 2. B cell mass of pancreas: B cell in type 1 generally destroyed, and B cell morphology is normal in type 2. Nature of onset: rapid in type 1, but in type 2 it is of gradual nature. Usual complication in type 1: ketoacidotic coma, and in type 2 that is a hyperosmolar coma. So the main symptom of diabetes mellitus are hyperglycemia, polyuria, polydipsia, polyphagia, ketoacidosis, mainly in type 1, that is insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, hyperlipidemia, muscle wasting, and electrolyte depletion. Polyphagia occurs due to decreased activity of salivary center that removes its inhibitory effect on feeding center in brain. Second, polyuria, it is due to osmotic diuresis. And third, polydipsia, that is due to dehydration due to polyuria stimulates thirst. Glycosuria: because when the insulin is not present, glucose is not taken up out of the blood at the target cells. So the blood glucose is very highly increased. Blood glucose is filtered and excreted in the urine when the exceeds transport maximum. Ketosis. Fats and proteins are metabolized excessively and byproduct known as ketone bodies are produced, and these are released into the bloodstream and causes decreased pH, so there is increased acidity, and acetone gives off in breath. That is, breath of the patient is of sweet. Last one is weight loss. Patient eats but nutrients are not taken up by the cells and or are not metabolized properly. So it is disease of starvation midst of plenty. So this is the flow chart showing the complication of insulin deficiency. There is enhanced lipolysis, and this leads to ketonemia, ketonuria, acidosis and diuresis, and this finally in severe cases leads to coma, decreased glucose uptake and utilization, and this leads to hyperglycemia and glycosuria, polyuria and electrolyte loss, and dehydration and cellular dysfunction, and finally leads to coma. When there is increased proteolysis, increased plasma amino acid and loss of nitrogen in urine, dehydration and acidosis, and this also finally leads to coma. So this is the mechanism how the coma develop in diabetes mellitus by these three channels. Now the diagnosis of diabetes mellitus. First one is demonstrating the persistent hyperglycemia and glycosuria. Second one is glucose tolerance test, that is it is of oral is mainly preferred, and this is very important test for diagnosis of diabetes mellitus. In this test, the patient is come in fasting, overnight fasting state up to 12 hours, and the sample of venous blood is taken. From this, the fasting blood glucose is estimated, and the subject then ingests 75 grams of glucose dissolved in water, and 4 to 5 samples of glucose of venous blood are then collected generally at the interval of 30 minutes, and the blood glucose level in these samples are estimated, and the plot is drawn between the hours, that is half an hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 2 hours, and the blood glucose concentration. So in normal condition, when the patient is normal, not having diabetes mellitus, the blood glucose level becomes back to fasting level within 2 hours, but in diabetic patient it never come back to fasting level within 2 hours. So this is the graph, and the glucose tolerance test is done for the diagnosis. And third one is estimation of fasting blood glucose. If fasting blood glucose is more than 126 mg/% in more than 2 occasions, confirm the diabetes mellitus. Now come to the final treatment of diabetes mellitus. So the main treatment of diabetes mellitus, first is lifestyle modification. Means the patient is motivated for their change in lifestyle, like exercise, yoga, dietary measurements, weight loss. And second comes in the drugs, that is oral hypoglycemic agents are used for controlling the blood glucose level. And final is the insulin therapy. So finally, when the patient not respond to oral hypoglycemic drugs and lifestyle modifications, the insulin therapy is given. Now, what are the complications of this disease? First one is microvascular diseases. In diabetes, it leads to diabetic retinopathy, diabetic nephropathy. Microvascular may lead to myocardial infarction and stroke. Third one is diabetic neuropathy. Fourth one is chronic ulcer and gangrene formation due to decreased resistance to infection. So that's in about diabetes mellitus, and final the completes the endocrine pancreas in all.